What's going on, everybody? It's going to be week 5. Mike and Rico got college football preview. We got the week off, no fans. So we're going to be chilling, watching some of these other teams go at it. How's it feel being 4-0 and getting the chance to sit back and kind of watch the rest of the action this week?
It's different, but it's fun. You get to see kind of just how these other teams look. There's some that are ranked teams, some are just guys that FSU is going to play that you can watch and kind of decipher and see how they look. But it's good, but it's also a much needed time for FSU. They're really banged up, so this is a week off that's very warranted and needed after playing tough games like LSU and Clemson. You physically just beat yourself up. So I think overall it's a different feeling on a Saturday, but it's also one that's going to be fun where we can kind of see what these teams do and how they look.
Well, kicking it off, we've got a ball game tonight, 8 o'clock. It's going to be out there out west where some of the craziest football has been being played. We've got a 4-0 Utah team, ranked number 10 in the country, going on the road to Corvallis to face a 3-1 Oregon State team. Oregon State lost a close one on the road, I believe it was, to Washington State last week. DJ Ugalele is playing pretty good so far, 7 TDs, 3 picks on the year, about 828 yards. He looks a little more comfortable than he did in Clemson under Dabo. Big game out there out west because Utah is one of those party crashers that could get into the mix later if they continue to win. You got any thoughts on this? And just the Pac-12, I guess, in general, is they're going to get kicked off tonight. There's a Pac-12 game that's being kicked off at 10 in the morning tomorrow. I don't know since when Pac-12 plays at 10 in the morning, but apparently they do. This one will be 8 p.m., which is normal and standard for that conference. But what do you think about Utah at Oregon State?
Yeah, it's a really good contrast because Oregon State's one of the best offensive teams in the Pac-12. I think obviously USC's the best, but they're one of the best that nobody talks about. And then Utah has, I think, one of the best defenses in the whole Pac-12. Held Florida down to 11 points. Played a good UCLA team, shut them down, only held 7. So it's going to be a contrast, I think, of styles of what this Oregon State offense can do against Utah because nobody's really cracked kind of that defense. And then we'll see kind of what level Utah's defense is at in this game where they're playing a very good offensive team that's seems to be rolling. And so that's the way I look at that. It's kind of offense versus defense. So it's going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I guess if I had to throw a prediction out, and I'll ask you to do the same, I'm going to go with Oregon State in this game. I think they've gone to the freshman quarterback. I think his name's Nate Johnson
Yep.
for Utah. Tough road start, tough place to play. I don't think anybody's going to survive that Pac-12. It's just going to be a gauntlet. And I'm going to go with Oregon State 31-24 over the Utes and disrupting Utah's 4-0 start. What say you?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with your prediction, but I'll be a little lower. I'm gonna go 24-20 Oregon State because I think it's gonna be a little more low scoring than they're used to. But I think Oregon State will pull it out. I'm assuming this game's at Oregon State.
It
So
is.
yeah. So I like them a little bit more. I think it could get up to 31-20, but I'll be safe and go 24-20. But I think it's tough to ask a backup quarterback, even though he is the guy to come in there and do it, because they're still struggling offensively. As much as we raved about what they did against UCLA, they still only won 14-7. So their offense is still trying to get their feet wet and settle in. So I think that's a tough matchup to just get everything clicking. But I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. But I agree with you. I go with Oregon State.
All right, I'll do a special pick because we've got some people that we know they're going to be going up to Carter Finley tonight here in a couple hours. Louisville at NC State. I really like this Louisville team. I think they're ahead of schedule. They're one of 4 teams beginning of the year. They're favored to win every game on their schedule. Cousin Eddie ran track and played some football up there at Louisville, so I know he's really excited. He's going to head up there to NC State. That stadium, Carter Finley, is a tough place to play, but I like the Birds. I like the Redbirds in this game. I think Plummer, we told him at the beginning of the year, Plummer was good. Plummer is balling out. 10 TDs, 4 picks, got 1,100 yards in the air, and one of the best transfers in all of college football, Thrash at the wide receiver spot. He's got 5 TDs on the year, 400 yards on 19 receptions. He's balling. Jordan's running the heck out of the ball. I really like what Louisville's doing. NC State, I don't disrespect them. It's a tough place to play. I just think Louisville's better, and I think Louisville moves to 5-0 and, more importantly, 3-0 in conference.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's always tough playing you playing. I mean, we've seen this with NC State when you play them at Carter Finley on a Thursday and a Friday night. They're really tough. I think it's going to be a really tough game for Louisville, but I also think NC State, or I think Louisville is going to find a way to win in a close one. I think it's going to be a lot closer than maybe a lot of people think because of that. What I've seen weird games the way they play there, and two, it's like the reason I pick. I feel like Louisville's going to find a way is because I'm really sold on the Plummer kid. I like him as a quarterback. I don't really get comfortable when I watch NC State and their quarterback play. It's very shaky to me. So I think outside of some blunder of a lot of turnovers, I think Louisville is going to find a way to get a close win there.
Yep, I think we're in agreement. Louisville's going to get it done tonight. Moving along, we'll get into, and we'll just go sequentially as far as the time slots are concerned through our top 25. Penn State at Northwestern. Penn State, I feel like, is fringe top 5. They got them number 6 in the country. Drew Alar's been playing pretty good ball. Hasn't thrown a pick yet. Don't know if he's had a fumble, but has not thrown an interception yet. Penn State's been rolling. Katron Allen's running the ball. They've got a lot of things going on in Happy Valley. They are a dark horse team to come out of the Big Ten if Michigan's not prepared for them. I think they're going to steamroll Northwestern. Don't think it'll be close. Penn State puts this one away in the first half, and they get the 2s and 3s in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would feel that way. I think it will be. I think they will come out a little bit sloppy because they put so much emotion in that last game to really just make a statement on Iowa. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be probably a 38-41-7 type of win. When they get things rolling and then get some backups in. I think it might look sloppy at times just because I've seen it when you're coming off that win. You're not going to be as sharp. But I don't think the game's ever going to be like tested for them. I will be very surprised if that happens. So Northwestern's going through a lot of transition, a lot of situations going on with their their athletic program, and I just think Penn State is one of those top tier teams. It's kind of similar to what we see sometimes, I guess, when Michigan has played teams that they're so much better in. They kind of sloppy, but then they bam kick it in. I think that's what Penn State will do.
Yep. Now moving on to one that's going to get a lot of headlines. It's very unfortunate that you've got to have your pajamas on and be in front of a bowl of cereal and turn off the cartoons. The USC Trojans are rolling into Boulder for some reason. That thing's kicking off at 10 in the morning Boulder time. Get your coffee ready. It's going to be 11 a.m. Central, and then of course 12 o'clock Eastern. USC coming in 4-0. They've got the Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams. They've got Lincoln Riley, and they've got a bunch of dudes who are going to be ready to go. Colorado is obviously coming off a terrible performance last week in Eugene where they got boat raced. Mercifully, that game ended. I think it was 42-6. Probably could have been about 80-0. It's going to be a lot of energy put into to try to bounce back. I think Colorado got really embarrassed all the way across the board. So it'll be interesting to see if they feed off the home crowd. There's a list of celebrities going to be there. They'll be there in their pajamas with their coffee because it's a 10 a.m. kick. So we'll just see how it goes. I predict USC is going to be all over them. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. If I had to go with a score, I think it'd be something around the lines of like 44-10, something like that. I just think USC's got too much quality. It's going to be a lot of what you saw last week at Oregon. These kids are not going to be intimidated, obviously, at all. USC was a couple quarters away from a playoff berth last year, and Caleb is just playing sublime football. I think USC's on a mission, and if there is a team that come out of the Pac-12, it's probably going to be them and another one we're going to get to a little later. So I've got USC all over Colorado tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think there'll be a lot of emotion because, as you said, I think they'll want to respond, and I think they will score. I don't think USC's defense is like top tier in the league at all, but at the same time, they have the best offense, and this is a very poor Colorado defense. They cannot stop anything. I have 55-20. Like
Oof.
I think they're gonna roll them. I think it's gonna be bad. I think they're gonna score, but I don't think they're gonna be able to stop USC in just about every possession. That defense hasn't shown me anything to stop anything, and I think it's just going to be one of those games where USC can, you're just going to get explosive plays. Now, if they turn the ball over, it could be worse than that.
Now it is worth mentioning. Shador is still putting up some really good numbers. I know
Yep.
Colorado had a tough time with Colorado State in the first half, really 3.5 quarters to Shador. Really got it going in the fourth. Had a nice comeback. Really struggled last week, but on the season he's 1,400 yards, 11 TDs, one pick. That's phenomenal numbers. So we'll see if that stands against USC. I think both you and I think USC is going to roll.
Yep.
Moving on to a big one in the SEC East. It's going to be down there in Kroger Field, Lexington, Kentucky. It's going to be a noon start. The Florida Gators come in 3-1, 1-0 in SEC play, and they meet the Kentucky Wildcats at 4-0, 1-0 in SEC play. This is a big one. This is the type of game that Coach Stoops gets his contract extension for right here.
Yep.
I'm going to go Kentucky here. I think Kentucky's going to get it done 24-21. It's going to be a very emotional game. These games have been close, nip and tuck the last few years. I think Kentucky nipped them in Gainesville. If it wasn't last year, I want to believe, barely. It's going to be one of those games, man. Dennis Leary comes over from NC State. He's had a little bit of an interception issue. He's got 9 TDs, 5 picks on the year so far. See if the Gator defense can get to him. I think they make enough plays though, and this is a real swing game for the Gators because that schedule picks up down the back half, and this is a game they really need. And Kentucky, the same deal. I just think that Kentucky's going to get it done at home. I'll go 24-21. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a really, really good matchup, and I think going into this game, a lot of people, talk about the Florida defense, which they are an improved defense and they're good, but the thing with this Kentucky defense that nobody really you don't talk about Kentucky with defense, but they get a lot of takeaways. I mean, that's a team that gets a lot of takeaways. I think they're going to force turnovers. I like them to pull the win and win like 24-17. I think it's going to be fairly low scoring, and I think the quarterback that they got from NC State, Leary, is going to do a pretty good job as far as handling just the putting them in the right things. I think the only thing that we shift this is if they somehow have a lot of turnovers where they get to 3 turnovers, but overall I think it's played straightforward. I like Kentucky to pull off the win. They just seem like offense, defense. They have what it takes to win a big home game for them that really can solidify their season.
Yep, that's a big one. Staying in the SEC East, we got the number 1 team in the country. Interesting game going out there to Auburn. They're going to take on Auburn at 3-1, who's 0-1 in SEC play. Of course, Auburn's coming off a pretty down week last week against A&M. A&M got after him pretty good. Jimbo really needed that game, got it. Georgia comes in 4-0, 1-0 in SEC play. Of course, they had a battle with South Carolina that stretched into the fourth quarter a couple of weeks ago. So this is a chance, I think, for Georgia to make a statement here, and I think they will. I got Georgia by 2 scores over Auburn. I think they've got too much on offense and defense, and I just don't see enough offense from Auburn to keep this thing close. I do think Auburn is solid defensively, and they'll test them early, but I think Georgia pulls away late. I'll probably go with, let's say, 31-20 Dogs. What say you?
Hey, there you go. Yeah, this is the first road test for Georgia. They don't play on the road much for some ungodly reason. They don't lead the state of Georgia that much. So this is Auburn's big marquee matchup. A lot of top recruits are going to be there. I think it's going to be similar to that South Carolina Georgia game where Georgia gets behind and they're going to have to answer the bell on offense because I'm still not comfortable with that quarterback situation they got there. But I do think eventually they'll get it done because their defense is too good. And then if they open it up a little more, I think they're gonna, probably pull away. I couldn't even guess the score. I'd probably say, maybe 24-14, something like that, or something like that to that similar. But I do think it's going to be a tough challenge for them because it's their first road game. I think on paper it looks clearly Georgia because the Auburn's had a lot of struggles on offense with sacks, with what they've got, the new quarterback out of Michigan State and Parker. I think they've really struggled offensively. So to beat this team, you need to be really sound on the offensive side of the ball, and I don't think Auburn's there yet. So that's why I think Georgia's going to pull away late in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Dogs make a statement here and look a little better than they've looked in the recent weeks. Schedule's been really soft for them. Speaking of soft schedules, you got the number 2 team in the country. The Michigan Wolverines are going to Lincoln to take on Nebraska. This is a chance for Michigan to kind of silence the doubters quietly. People have been kind of testing, wondering, what's going on with JJ McCarthy. He's got 3 picks in the last couple games. He looked a little better last week against Rutgers, but still want to see this Michigan offense get off to a better start than they have. Nebraska's made a quarterback switch. They're going to be desperate. Matt Rule has got to get some type of momentum going there. Lincoln is traditionally a very tough place to play. That's going to be a 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern kick. So it's not getting the night game treatment. They're not going to have the light show that's normally reserved for teams that they think they're going to be a little more competitive than or win the game. So we'll see. I think this is a good test for Michigan. First true road game. And, Harbaugh's back at the helm. He's got a week under his belt. I think Michigan comes in here and handles business. I'm going to say 33-17. I think it's very contested early in the first quarter, and they get a little adversity, maybe even get down 7 or 10-0 and have to respond. But I do think that they will get a multi-score victory and cover.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everything you said, I 100% agree with, because I think they haven't played on the road. There's going to be a jacked up place, no matter what the record is. Shout out the Nebraska fans; these guys come out for their team. I mean, they support them, no matter the record. So it's going to be an intense environment, a lot of crowd, a lot of first tests. But I also think when you bring out first year starters or first game starters, that's still you got the excitement part of the first quarter, but then after that, once the talent starts setting in, guys going to make mistakes, got to play, and I think Michigan's going to win, like 34-10. I think I could see them getting down like 10-7 or 10-3 or something like that, but I think once they settle in, I think Michigan is just the better team, and I don't. It's going to be really tough for Nebraska to score points unless JJ decides he's going to be Pickosaurus and go out there and throw like 100 picks or whatever. Like he's this is a game I think for JJ to really get some confidence back, because I mean these picks are concerning just on their defense is as good and dominant as anybody I've seen in the country, but this is a game where JJ can kind of get things right and get some confidence going.
Yeah, I agree. JJ needs to play better. Blake Corum silently is 8 touchdowns. He has a chance to make a Heisman push here. I think JJ's kind of fallen firmly off that list, and I think Blake's got a chance to climb it if he stays healthy. So I think Michigan will get it done there. Moving on to the team that I think is the best team in the country, the Texas Longhorns have a home game in Austin against the 4-0 Rock Chalk Kansas Jayhawks. We're not talking hoops, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking the gridiron. The Jayhawks are coming in ranked number 24 in the country, 4-0, 1-0 in Big Ten play, and they are bringing a running back with them. Mr. Neal's got 394 yards, 5 TDs. They've got a rushing offense. Kansas just beat BYU, I believe it was a week ago. Looked pretty good in doing so. Quinn Ewers been balling. He's got over 1,000 yards, 9 TDs, no picks, including a big epic win in Tuscaloosa. I think Texas is the best team in the country. I think they've got the best defense in the country. And I think Quinn Ewers is a legit Heisman candidate. And they also have one of the best receivers in the country. I think Texas handles business. I don't think that this is your Papaw's Texas team that's choking away games they shouldn't. I think they handle business. We'll call it 40-21. I think they look good doing it.
Yeah, it's a great matchup on paper, but if you really study, Kansas's schedule, they haven't really played anybody that's on the road or into the level of what they're playing. Now, if this game was at Kansas, it'd be kind of one of the most intriguing, matchups. Maybe a home crowd gives them some advantage. I just think this Texas team is ready for that stage, and we've already saw them make one statement. I think they're going to make another statement. I think they win this game 38-14. I don't think it's going to be close, to be honest. I mean, I might surprise some people. I just think Texas is really good in this moment. And you look at the team, the how complete their team is from defense to offense, and playmakers everywhere with Xavier Worthy, CJ Baxter, running back. I mean, they have so much, and their defense has been phenomenal. I just think this is a statement game for them that it might be a little bit tight early, but I think they're really going to kick it in this game and pull away. And nothing against this Kansas team. I just think Texas is on another level what they are.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Texas is really making a push here. This will be a game to where we can see if this is a different Texas team. This is the kind of game Texas of old would struggle with, even with a good start. Of course, the Oklahoma game is looming. That's coming up, I believe, next weekend. The Red River Shootout, always a big game. It's kind of a glass ceiling game for them. Oklahoma's had their number recently. I know they did get over the hump last year, But this is going to be a concentration game. I think Texas is different this year, and I think that they're going to get it done. Going back to the SEC East, we've got kind of a dark horse team. The Missouri Tigers are 4-0, have not played a conference game yet. They did get a win over Kansas State at home on a field goal. That was a pretty awesome win. Kansas State, of course, won the Big 12 last year. Missouri comes from the Big 12, so there's a little bit of bad blood there. But this Missouri team, I think, is pretty decent. We're going to see what type of consistency they have. They are on the road, if you call Vanderbilt a road environment. I guess technically it is. Nashville is a great place to visit. It's not exactly a daunting task to go into First Bank Stadium, but that's where they're going to be. I think Missouri gets it done here. I don't think it's particularly close. I think Missouri will win by 2 scores. We can call it 30-17, and they'll move to 5-0, and they'll move to 1-0 in SEC play.
Yeah, I mean there was concern that their starting quarterback would be out for Missouri, but he practiced. They passed him. He's good to go. And then there's top playmaker Luther Burden, a former 5-stars, is also going to play. So I will say this: like Vanderbilt's usually good for one of these games where they really challenge people, but I just think this Missouri team's so much better. I think they're going to get it done. I don't know what the score will be, maybe 31-10 or something like that, but I think they're just so much better than Vanderbilt, and it's hard for me to pick, Vanderbilt to surprise anybody based on what I've seen the product of Vandy so far. That team does not look sharp. They turn the ball over a lot. So yeah, for me, I got to go with Missouri.
Well, we're going to go switch over to the SEC West, which is where the meat of that conference usually is. We've got the LSU football Tigers going on the road, hotty-toddy, going down to Ole Miss. LSU comes in 3-1. We know who gave them the one, and it wasn't close. They're 2-0 in SEC play. Ole Miss is 3-1, 0-1 in SEC play because they ran into a buzzsaw at Bama. This is a really good game, and this is one that is going to shift the narrative of both these teams, and one that's really going to shift the season. I think it's going to be a tight one. I think it's going to probably go to overtime or be late in the fourth quarter, but I just like LSU. They're battle-tested. They have already played one of the best teams in the country in the Noles, and I think they have too much firepower. I think they're going to get it done late or in overtime by a field goal, kind of like what they did last week against Arkansas.
Yeah, their offense is ridiculous. I think they have some of the best receivers in the whole country. Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, they're so loaded. Jaden Daniels, a nice experienced quarterback. I think my question, I want to see how that defense looks. I was very surprised how they played last week. They haven't done that this season yet, except for that FSU game where they were exploited. But I kind of want to see just what they look like. I do think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be quite as close. My prediction won't be as quite as close. I got 31-21. I think they will play them tough, but I don't think it. I'm not sold on this Ole Miss offense that I'm seeing the last few weeks. They're not as explosive as I've seen in the past. And I think to keep up with LSU, you have to score a lot. And I'm not sure they can do that consistently. I think they will take an early lead on them, but I think this is a game where once LSU gets their feet wet and the talent sets in, I think they'll settle in and pull it out. But it will be close. I do think it's going to be close.
Yeah, so we both agree that LSU is going to get that done, and it's going to be interesting to see. I still think LSU might be the best team in the SEC. Remains to be seen, but this is a big one, big road test, big SEC West road test at that. Moving out to the Pac-12, this is going to be a 6:30 p.m. kickoff Eastern, which is more along the lines of what the Pac-12 does, not that 10 a.m. pajama stuff. It just got to shake my head at that. That's crazy to me that there's a football game being played at 10 a.m. That's actually pretty ridiculous. And I think there's some ulterior motives as to why that's being done. But nevertheless, Oregon is playing at 6:30 p.m. They're going on the road to Stanford. This is going to be a blowout. They're way better than Stanford. They're probably going to put up 50 or 60. Stanford is just in a world of hurt right now. They've got a lot of things that they need to work on. That program's going to really need to get shifted. They're coming over to the ACC, if I'm not mistaken. And they're just going to need a complete rebranding, probably need a new coach, probably need a lot of new everything. Meanwhile, Oregon is just a well-oiled machine. Bo Nix is in the Heisman race. That whole team looks hungry. Coach Dan Lanning's got them playing a little bit of defense this year, and the firepower on offense is just terrific. So I think Oregon's going to absolutely boat race Stanford. I'm going to say 50-13.
Yeah, it's Stanford might surprise somebody during the year, not a ranked team, but I think surprise anybody. It might be a game or two they surprise, but I don't think this one will be one of them. I got 61-10. I think it's going to be a complete shellacking. I just think Oregon's so much more cleaner as a football team, what they do, and it's going to be
Mhm.
hard for them to keep this close. They're going to need turnovers to even keep this even where viewership is going to be on the game. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a tough one for them. I just think there's too much firepower with Oregon, and it's going to be a tough call.
Yep. Oregon's going to roll. Going back to the Big 12, we've got Iowa State traveling to Norman to face the number 14 and quietly 4-0 and scary Oklahoma Sooners, led by Coach Venerables and Dylan
Yep.
Gabriel, who's in like his 17th year. I'm just kidding. He's a fifth-year senior, but he's playing like a pro quarterback right now. 12 TDs, one pick on the year, over 1,200 yards. I think Oklahoma's going to roll. I think Oklahoma's very, very scary, and one of the games of the year is upon us next week when they go to Dallas and descend upon that Red River shootout. I've got Oklahoma rolling Iowa State. We can call it 38-20.
Yeah, I think the thing that we don't talk about with Oklahoma is defense. You saw that last week; they only gave up 6 points in the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Venables is starting to settle in his guys, and you're seeing a lot more of the defense and a lot more control of the game. So yeah, I agree that they're going to win. I would say like 31-7 for me. I really think that defense is going to continue to kind of ride that wave of their momentum of what they're doing on defense. And then anytime you got Dylan Gabriel, you're going to feel in control of the game. So that's what I kind of think as far as this matchup.
Brings us to one of our better games on the Saturday. It's going to be a 7:30 p.m. kick. It's going to be down in Durham, and you've got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on the Duke Blue Devils. Notre Dame, of course, is 4-1, and just a heartbreaking way to lose a game. Had 10 men
Yep.
on the field for that last two plays against Ohio State. Ryan Day had a diatribe and a soapbox moment talking about how physical they were. Yeah, I mean, good on you, Coach Day, because you had 11, they had 10. So it is what it is. Notre Dame's got to get better. They're coming into a red hot Duke team that's 4-0, coming off of a couple wins, including a big win against Clemson at home a few weeks ago. I think this is just going to be a reality check game, though. I think Duke is good. I think Duke is very well coached, but I
Yep.
think that Coach Marcus Freeman's going to have these kids ready. They're going to be angry. They're going to come in and take care of business, and I think they're going to win 30-20 over Duke on the road. Notre Dame gets back into the win column and gets back into the picture there.
Yeah, and you can break this down the game a lot of ways. First off, it's a return of Sam Hartman to play in the ACC. He's played for Wake Forest. He knows Duke. He knows what to expect. So I don't think it's going to be like a home field advantage. I think Notre Dame will probably have a lot of fans there in
Oh yeah.
Durham. But I go back to Sam Hartman. To me is the key. I think Riley Leonard is a really good athlete, but I'm not sure he's effectively going to be able to throw the ball as efficiently as what he's done early in the season. I think Notre Dame's going to win. I think it's going to be like 20-10, but I
Mm-hmm.
think they will control the game for the most part. I think there'll be a lot of game control. I just think they're the more physical team. And if you go back to everyone highlights that Clemson game, and it's like but Clemson ran all over them. They just kept turning the ball over inside the red zone. If you look at the stats, I mean, they
Yeah.
had over 400 yards, and so they did put up the yards. But I think Notre Dame just isn't a team that turns the ball over too much. I don't think they're going to turn the ball over. And I think Marcus Freeman is going to get a nice rebound game to get these guys back on track with their team. I like Notre Dame.
Yeah, Sam Hartman quietly has over 1,200 yards, 14 TDs, no picks. Faced a really good Ohio State team. Played decent last week. Wasn't one of his best moments, but played well enough to win. They just couldn't stop him on fourth down, and
Yep.
defensive coordinator just got to have 11 guys on the field. So I feel bad for Notre Dame on that, but they're going to bounce back, get a win this week. Going back to the SEC East, this is going to be a good one. And last year, Tennessee's season really kind of fell off the wayside when they went to South Carolina. They got absolutely boom
Hmm.
shakalaka, NBA Jam style, just got ran out of the building. They've got a revenge game here. I think this one is going to go down to the wire. I'm going to give the slightest of edges to Tennessee. I think it's going to be about a 31-27 ball game that they're going to win late. And I'm only giving them that because Neyland Stadium is a hell of a venue, hell of an atmosphere, and I think they've got a revenge factor. But this is going to be a good one, and this is going to go a long way in determining some stuff in the SEC East. Tennessee really needs to win this game. They really need to win out in the SEC East so that when they play Georgia, they have a chance to possibly take the East later on. If Tennessee falls to the wayside, I mean, Georgia's just got an absolute cakewalk to Atlanta, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate, you know.
yeah, this is a great game. On a lot of game people weren't talking about it, but I like the South Carolina team. I like the way they challenged when they were over there at Georgia, played them tough. I'm not sold on this Tennessee team, man. You got to show me something. I think South Carolina's going to pull a shocker and win 28-27. I'm
Ooh,
not sold.
upset.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Tennessee yet from what I've seen. They have to show me something. I need to see more out of their running game, and I need see some playmakers that step up at the receiver position. And I think it's a show me game. I think they will play really well, but I'm not sold on just what they do as far as turn over the ball. They played one good opponent, and really they got smacked around, and then they just didn't seem to fight back. So I kind of want to see some fight. Tennessee, prove me wrong, man. Prove me wrong. Show me something. But I think this is
Mike
going to be
wants to see it.
yeah, it's going to be a tough game for the Vols. Even at home, I think Spencer Rattler's gamer. I mean, he's going to be ready. He's a gamer type player, and these guys are going to be affected going into Neyland Stadium. I think it's going to be a really good game. But I like the Gamecocks to pull a little surprise.
That's going to be interesting to see how that one pans out. That's our first disagreement there. We'll be split on that
Yep.
one. I think the Vols get it done. You think South Carolina comes in there and gets an upset. We'll have to check back Saturday night.
Yeah.
Going back to the SEC West, we've got Alabama traveling down to Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville to take on Mississippi State. Mississippi State sitting at 2-2, 0-2 in the SEC. Bama's 3-1, 1-0 in the SEC. More importantly, and I think they've settled on Jalen Milroe at quarterback. I think Bama will tire them out, get this one done. It's not necessarily going to be pretty. Might even be only a one-score game. Will Rogers has been playing pretty good ball. 6 TDs, 1 pick, just under 1,000 yards. I think MC and Mississippi State will be game, but I think Bama's just better, and I think Bama's going to wear them down. Bama took care of the other the other Mississippi school last week, and I think they will handle this one this week. I'll call it 24-17 Bama.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this Mississippi State team. Certainly Will Rogers we know is a lot better than what we saw when they got smashed by LSU at home. But I think they'll show up. I think there'll be a really tight game for the most part, most of the game. But I agree with you that I think they're going to wear them down, and I think physically they're eventually going to break through. And kind of how they did against Ole Miss, that game was tight for a while, and then bam, they just kept beating on them. I think the same thing. I think Alabama will wear them out and win like something like 31 to 17 or something like that.
All right, moving back out to the Pac-12 where they normally play their games later at night. This is going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. I got to bring it up. That just 10 a.m. for a Pac-12 game is just absolutely just asinine, especially when you're asking a California team to play at 10 a.m. when that's really 9 a.m. for them. That's freaking ridiculous. I was going to say
It is.
that's freaking,
No, it's
that's freaking ridiculous.
I agree with
That's
you.
ridiculous.
I've been following football my whole life, and I've never seen a Pac-12 game at noon.
Yeah,
we
that's ridiculous.
we kind of have our speculations of why. Maybe because of the results of what the game's going to be, but yeah, it's shocking that that game is at noon. So
Yeah, I mean, because people want to see it, but I guess they're going to have to get up and put the PJs on. Anyway, this game here, it'll be in your evening slot. You'll be able to watch it. You're probably done for what you got to do for the day. It's going to be 9 p.m. Central start, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be Washington 4-0, 1-0 in Pac-12, going down to Arizona and Tucson to take on the Arizona Wildcats. Surprisingly, 3-1, 1-0 in Pac-12 play. I think this game will be pretty solid. I think this is going to be a good game. I think in the second half, Washington's offense runs away with it. Michael Penix Jr. is a hell of a player. Shout out to Tampa, Florida. That's where he's from. He's 1,600 yards, 16 TDs, 2 picks on the year. Legitimate Heisman contender. I think he throws for 400 yards, 4 TDs, a lot of that in the second half. And Washington pulls away. We'll call it 44-23 over Arizona. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched Arizona a couple times this year. Narrowly beat, I think, Stanford by 1 point. So
Mhm.
yeah, Washington, Penix. That's my pick. I'm down with you, man. I don't
Yeah,
think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be 48-10. Like
yeah,
I like this Washington team. I think their defense
yeah.
is really good, very similar to Utah. I think there'll be some emotion early on, but I don't know. Arizona, I'd have to see more. I'm not seeing a game where I feel like it could be competitive. We want it to be because it's fun to watch Pac-12 at dark. But I think this is one that they're going to pull away pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Pac-12 at dusk or
Yeah.
dawn. I mean, the stagger is crazy. Anyway, we agree there. That should be a pretty comfortable win for Washington. And last top 25 game, we're going to have Nevada traveling to Fresno State. Nevada's 0-4. Fresno State's 4-0. This will probably be a schmacking. I think the Keen kid for Fresno State has been playing pretty well. 1,200 yards, 12 TDs, 2 picks. Nevada's 0-4 for a reason. This will be the first conference game. I think Fresno State will probably win by 2 or 3 scores here. Don't know a ton about this Fresno State team, but I do know that they are one of the tougher teams out of Mountain West year in and year out.
Hmm.
And they look to have a pretty doggone good team this year. So Fresno State by 2 or 3 scores over Nevada.
Yeah, really good offense. I watched them once by accident, just scrolling and watching, and I saw them really explosive offense. I think they'll have no problem this weekend. Probably win by 3 scores, like you mentioned, 38-10, I guess. But I think they're in good shape. So yeah, I think Fresno will keep it rolling.
Well, that's going to wrap it up as far as all of our picks. The only upset that I think we had was you
Hmm.
picking South Carolina over Tennessee. Other than that, it does not look to be a crazy upset Saturday, unless we're wrong. If we're
Yeah,
wrong, we could
we
have
hope.
some fireworks. Yeah, it'll be interesting. We get it kicked off early, and we still get some action late, so it'll be interesting to see. That's going to be our week 5 here. College football starting to shake out. Is there any team here that you feel like could be making a statement to creep up into that top 5 that's not already in it?
Um, like I think a team that doesn't get respect is Washington. I think
Yeah.
that's a team that nobody. I mean, they talk about the Georgias, how about the Michigans. We know Florida State, and we've heard LSU, and we've heard other schools mentioned. We've even heard USC mentioned before Washington, but
Hmm.
nobody talks about Washington like that. So I think there's kind of a chip there. That's a team that overall, I think nationally, you could see people start moving towards as the season
Hmm.
goes on. I think it's a special team, and I think it's a team that's going to be in there, in challenge for that top 5. So I think that's one that I really like a lot, and I think there's a lot of prove it games for a lot of these teams where we kind of don't know what they are. Whether it's Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, or even what Utah is on offense. So is Cameron Rising going to come back? Is he going to play this year? So that changes
Yeah.
stuff in the dynamics of each league and just the way we view this. So it's a lot to. We made all our picks, but there could be some surprises in there that maybe we didn't expect.
Well, absolutely. That's going to be it for week 5. We're going to sign off here. This is Mike and Rico previewing week 5. We're going to be back Saturday night to see how right or how wrong we were and
Yeah.
update our top 5 and our Heisman. College football is off and running. Got some big boys that are making some big noise in the polls. It's going to be a fun one, as it always is. No fans, we get the week off to heal up, and then we'll be back in action next week. Really interested to see what Michigan does on the road there.
Yeah.
Really interested to see what Georgia does on the road there. Those top 2 teams
Yeah.
want to see if they can make a statement and kind of silence a little bit of the doubters. They look like there's some cracks and crevices,
Yeah.
particularly on offense for both squads.
Right.
So I want to see that, and want to see if this Texas team is truly different. So
Yeah.
those are the 3 things I'm going to be looking for. Mike, we'll be back on Saturday, brother. You have a good weekend, and we will see you guys later.